Domestic violence, abuses against women made worse for many by the mental health problems brought on by COVID. Mental health counselor Veronica McHugh will be my guest in less than a minute to discuss this frightening reality and what can be done to help. Also in this program, a student from Brooklyn Latin High School will be talking to Alonta Wright-On, host of Young Academic Achievers, about her coursework and her extracurricular activities. Domestic violence groups are saying that the COVID pandemic has exacerbated this abuse of women. Again, let me welcome mental health counselor Veronica McHugh. What do you say to this report by the violence groups?
Hi, Sam. Thank you very much for having me on. It is a pandemic in it of itself. Can you imagine being locked at home with your abuser with no escape, no outside contact with the world? Here in Brooklyn, we were quarantined, was it 4 months? I believe it was approximately 4 months, okay, that we were quarantined for. Imagine being locked in the same place with your abuser, no other contact, none of the societal stopgaps that normally people and women and children who are being abused can approach. Teachers, doctors, guidance counselors, friends, family for support. This is global, just as COVID is, okay? England's numbers of dead women with domestic violence are through the roof, okay? I don't even think we have solid numbers here in America because the domestic violence system is different, right? It's more city by city, you know what I mean, county by county. In response to this pandemic, women have become very, very original in their ways of reaching out for help. Recently, there was a YouTube video where a woman was speaking on the phone, on the video camera with her friend. In the background, you can see the male walking back and forth, pretending to be busy. But we all know what he's really doing is listening to what she is and isn't saying. She very subtly put up her hand, crossed her thumb underneath, and put her hand down like this. This is the international sign language for help. Her friend caught it and immediately called the police, who responded to the house. He had been beating her, okay? Another very ingenious way of dealing with it is women are calling 911 and ordering pizza. When the 911 operator hears them ordering a pizza, what else do? You give your address, yes? The 911 operators are catching on to come to the house and save the female. Statistically, domestic victims are female. That's why I say female. I'm not picking on men. I just want to make that clear.
Yes.
Okay. Drinking has gone up through the roof. I was just looking at statistics before we met this evening. 1 year ago, we all went into lockdown. I believe it was around March 21st, March 22nd. In-person alcohol sales that week, okay, from the year before went up 54%. Online alcohol orders went up 262%. Okay, let's face it, right now we are in the middle of political upheaval, societal upheaval, financial upheaval. All of this is putting pressure on already pressured relationships. And again, with no escape, it's getting pretty desperate out there.
What happens to children who are born in these domestic violent households?
They're the most victimized. Children raised in a home that has an actual domestic violence case ongoing, okay? Their cortisol levels, we all have a mechanism within us, in our brain, okay, neurobiology. When we see danger, our body automatically switches into fight or flight mode. Cortisol is dropped within the bloodstream, and it literally changes the way the human body functions. All energy leaves the organ function and goes to the extremities. Why? To fight or to flight, right? Mm-hmm. These children are under so much stress There was a study done a while ago. Their cortisol levels are equal to the levels of the soldiers fighting on the front lines in Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. These children are walking PTSD victims. The second aspect, unfortunately, of children raised in a domestically violent home is if it's a male child, at some point, statistically, the male child will become the abuser, not towards the females in the house. His first physical abuse statistically will be against the male who is initiating the abuse. So we've just created yet another abuser. Okay, he's learned to communicate through physical violence. Okay, female children raised in a domestically violent home will go out in their adulthood and recapitulate or try to reform what they saw their parents or their mother and the father go through in their childhood to try to correct it later on in adulthood.
What are the signs to look for? People who have been abused or are being abused, what signs should other people look for?
First and foremost, and it's really kind of hard to disseminate during a pandemic because we are all in quarantine and we really don't have much to say, is isolation. If you have a female who used to talk several times a week or several times a month, just, you know, how's the weather, how's it going, that all of a sudden she isolates, okay? Another thing to be cognizant of is if every time, because most of us are now communicating via Zoom and computer, the male is walking back and forth. Every time you talk, you connect with somebody, okay? They're being monitored, okay? They're actually being monitored. Now, unfortunately, one of the hardest statistics for us counselors who deal with trauma, specifically in reference to domestic violence victims, is, on average, it will take a victim 6 separate attempts to permanently separate herself from her abuser.
Are there domestic violence and abuse shelters that women can go to, and is that advisable?
I don't mean to be evasive. It really depends. If I may, can I flip the question back on you? Mm-hmm. For 2 minutes, let's pretend you're 7 months pregnant. You have 3 children under the age of 5. Your best bet in the world of domestic violence is to get into the Safe Horizons system. Myself as a counselor, if I refer you to Safe Horizons, once you get on the phone with the Safe Horizons counselor, I now have nothing to do with it and I don't know where you go, but you will be told to go to a location. They will meet you or they will have someone meet you, or the location that they give you will actually be one of their safe houses. Tell me, Sam, 7 months pregnant with 3 kids under 5. Are you going into Safe Horizons system, which, if I may, it is a very good system. Thank everybody that we have it, but it's still the equivalent of a modern day underground railroad. What do I mean by that? The women and children are moved from safe house to safe house to safe house to safe house. They do get support. They get financial support, clothing, legal support. But again, our system, unfortunately, is broken in reference to dealing truthfully with the reality of domestic violence. What do I mean by that? One of the first things Safe Horizons will help a woman do, especially if the perpetrator is very violent, is help them obtain a restraining order from a judge. Okay, the concept is perfect. Now we have a judge involved within our relationship, and I'm not telling you not to hit me anymore. A New York State judge is telling you not to touch me anymore. But see, once the restraining order is issued, it is a legal document. It will have my safe house from Safe Horizons address on the restraining order. He gets a copy. What did we just hand him? My address. So now I have to go back into the system. I have to go find another safe house. And again, in reference to the children, children are very damaged by this. Every mother in the world knows the one thing a child needs is structure. And unfortunately, Safe Horizons, and they are an excellent, excellent agency. Again, thank the heavens that we have them, because there is a place to go where women can be put up in a shelter and protected. Okay, but again, there's nuances within the system that fall far short.
Are you saying that there's rules that need to be changed?
Correct. Correct. There's many rules that need to be changed as far as domestic violence and sexual abuse are concerned within the entire country, to be really fair with you. For example, and again, I teach at Kingsborough Community College. I work for the Allied Health, Mental Health, and Human Services Department, and I teach domestic violence there. Let's take a second and think of a driver, a male or female driver that gets stopped for DWI. They blow, they're positive, they're now arrested. Yes, the car is confiscated. They will be held until they appear in court. When they go to court, all the penalties involved for obtaining a DWI charge will be financial, seriously financial. They charge you for everything, okay? The lawyers, your car has been in the pound. A lot of times now, judges are mandating that a breathalyzer be attached to your steering wheel for a certain amount of time, but also the courts will put on what's called an ankle bracelet, an ankle monitor, right? Because if you're under house arrest. Why can't we put ankle monitors on people, on the males who have been proven to be habitual physical or sexual abusers, and have the system watch them rather than send the women and the children, again, into a modern day version of the Underground Railroad? It would be far better for the female, family friend support, far better for the children, structure.
Police are saying that complaints are down, but violence is increasing.
Of course it is. I don't know about you, Sam, but when I was a child and we would go out, let's say to a family function, and I was doing something inappropriate, one look from my mother, usually the raised eyebrow, right? meant, ooh, when I get you home, right? Right? Discipline, okay? These women are getting that look from these abusive men every second of every day. There's no way they're calling the police unless they know they're ready to make the final cut, the final ending to the relationship.
Mental health counselor Veronica McHugh talking about the problems that we have in too many homes in New York. Veronica, you're wearing two hats, college professor and an abuse counselor.
Yeah, I actually specialize in trauma. I've been trained. There is a brand new therapy. It's called RTM therapy. And what I can do with people with traumatic history is remove the physical manifestations of it. Like we were saying before, fight or flight, the rapid heartbeat, the rapid breathing, the nightmares, the hypervigilance. There's a new therapy. It's more didactic, meaning therapy is usually the client talks a lot and the counselor listens. But in this RTM therapy, it's the exact opposite. I tell you everything what to do, and I'm actually going to move the traumatic memory from the hippocampus, from the direct link with the body for the fight or flight, into a more benign part of the memory, the color of your bedroom as a child. So I'm a trauma specialist.
Yes, yes. There are a lot of people who will not understand what you're saying, but I'm sure when they're in a counseling session with you, you can explain all of that to them.
Yeah. But it's a different kind of therapy. It's not just a counselor, and there's nothing wrong with just being counselors. We all need someone to talk to at this point in time. Again, the world is so uncertain.
Yes. The police have been saying that complaints are down, but violence is increasing. What do you have to say about that?
I think that makes complete sense to me. As a child, when we would go out for family functions, and let's say I misbehaved, right? All my mother needed to do from across the room was raise an eyebrow. I knew exactly what that meant. Wait till I get you home. Oh, are you in trouble? Yes? These women and children are living with their abusers constantly, 24/7. They are not going to call for police intervention unless these women are 100% sure that they're ready to sever completely the relationship with their abuser. Also, too, if I can, I'd like to comment that right now, myself as a mental health counselor and a lot of my colleagues, we are finding consistently across the board something we're calling decision fatigue. None of us can make any decisions because none of us know what's happening next week, next month, next year. So I can understand a lot of women not wanting to get the authorities involved because, again, all of our futures on so many levels are in question.
Let's talk a bit about the effects on children and on students, your professor? What are the effects on students of this abuse and living in a home where there is this continuous abuse?
Well, first of all, for those students, they will come to us professors. Again, I work in the Allied Health, Mental Health, and Human Services Department of Kingsborough Community College. Every professor in our department, our chairperson, our chairman, Richard Frashoni, and our director, George Kapanakis, Professor Dr. Juno, Caroline Hallmark, myself, we've all gone above and beyond to make ourselves available to these students, to have private conversations after class. They all have our personal cell, our personal email, and we're being outreached by them. Initially, a lot of students, and again, remember, we're talking young teens here, it's a local community college, didn't have the resources to learn online. They either didn't have the internet access, maybe just on their cell phone, no laptops. The school provided them with the materials that they needed in order to continue to engage. Another issue, we have a lot of single young moms. I had one student, she lost a job. She was very responsible. She and her daughter went and moved in with her mother until the mother's landlord found out and charged them $500 extra a month retro, all the way back to March. She needed financial help. We made sure she had someone to talk to at the college. We had some other students who have, because of their parental fears, yes, have not left their home, and some of them are in apartments, once since the pandemic started. That's severe isolation. That is a form of abuse, right? Domestic violence within the family, right? Someone you're intimate with. And again, it's parental, so you're not going to go against them. For these students, what we did is created something called the buddy system. And 2-3 times a week, a fellow student will check in with another student, how's it going? Even if it's just a venting session, it helps to regulate the emotion and the fear that so many of them are experiencing. Okay, we've had students come to us and talk about bosses who are telling them flat out, you come to work, or I'm going to tell unemployment that we offered you to come back and you said no, so you're not going to have a job and you're not going to get unemployment. Okay, there's societal manipulation, there's family manipulation. There's a lot of abuse going on there. A lot of people have lost control over their own decisions during this quarantine. And again, remember, please, we're in our second one here in South Brooklyn, myself included.
Yeah. Mental health counselor Veronica McHugh, I want to thank you for being on Brooklyn 45 and sharing the information that you have to people who need to have that information. And thank you very much for being our guest on Brooklyn 45.
Thank you.
I know. Let's go to Alonta Wright-Ton.
Thanks, Sam. Joining us today, representing Fort Greene, Brooklyn, is Raven Marshall, a beginning of the year 9th grader attending Brooklyn Latin High School, one of New York City's specialized high schools. Welcome to Brooklyn 45, Raven.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. As I said, you're a student at Brooklyn Latin High School, a school that is not an easy feat to get into, and we're really excited to celebrate you tonight. So let's start with your middle school, because it is the beginning of the year, grades are not in, so we want to talk about your experience as an 8th grader. You wrapped up your final year in middle school with a grade point average of 98 this year?
It was 99.08.
Excuse me. 9.08. Bravo. Tell us about your middle school and your middle school experience.
So I went to the Dock Street School in Dumbo, and overall it was a really great experience. It was a really small school with only about 100 people per grade level. So we all got to know each other really well by the end of 3 years, and we basically had classes with each other, with everyone else. So yeah, it helps us all to develop as people and develop our personalities and our, I guess.
And
Or
your skill set, right?
yeah.
Okay, so I understand some Regents level courses, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I took living environment and algebra, and at first it was definitely a difficult change from my regular math classes, but eventually it just kind of started to flow easier, and our teachers were really supportive in helping us make that transition.
Okay, so any favorite subjects?
So my favorite subjects are probably history and math because, well, for math at least, it's there's always one correct answer and there's a reason why you're either right or wrong. And for history, I like studying historical events that led up to where we are today and seeing how history has repeated itself and how it might repeat itself in the future.
Okay, that makes sense. So, along with being accepted into one of the city's top top high schools, you have other accomplishments under your belt. Can you share some of those with us?
Um, well, I'm in the Mark Morris Student Company right now. I believe it's my fourth year, and we've only just started, but I'm already really excited to meet back up with everyone and start dancing again.
Mm-hmm.
And also in 2017, I tied for first in the um, New York City Championship, I believe. And that was also a really amazing moment for me. I was just so proud in the moment, and it was just an accomplishment I've really been working hard for.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about a chess championship.
Yes.
So okay, so as a chess champion, how has the game of chess impacted you as a student and individual?
Well, chess has definitely helped me improve my memory as well as just my mental state because it can definitely be stressful at times. Like it never gets easier really going to tournaments, and
Mm-hmm.
also it just helps you to analyze the situations you're in and come up with the best idea in the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, just one final question. I want to throw this one at you. Since you are a Brooklyn Latin High School student, what would you say is the biggest problem facing our nation today?
The biggest problem facing our nation today is probably climate change, or at least one of them, because we rely on our environment to live, and without it, it sounds pretty grim, but we're basically all gonna die. Um, yeah,
Yeah, if we don't protect the environment.
yeah,
Yeah, so as a youngster, bringing that information out there that the environment is something that we need to pay attention to, I think it's very impacting. So, any last word that you would like to share with other scholars such as yourself or just other students who have aspirations of getting into a top high school?
definitely use your classmates and your teachers to your advantage because without them, you're really not gonna do well. Your classmates, especially since you're all in the same boat, don't just make it a competition, just also help each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard a lot from youngsters is that rely on your classmates, especially the classmates who are on the same path as you are. So, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you so much success at Brooklyn Latin High School. We want to follow you and see how you're doing in high school. And it's been a pleasure talking with you and getting to know you. And thank you for joining us at Brooklyn 45.
Thank you.
I am Alonta Rydon. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Alonta. And now over to Regi.
Can you show me the doll that is the nice doll? And why is that the nice doll? She's white.
Why is she the bad child?
Because she's black.
And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and she has 2 eyes.
Okay, why is she the dumb child?
Because she has black skin.
Child who has the skin color most adults like. And show me the child who has the skin color most adults don't like.
And Brielle, they asked what color adults don't like. Do you remember what you said? That's right, that's what you said. Why do you think adults don't like that color?
Dark.
Dark. And adults, you think adults don't like dark?
Maybe some adults do, but maybe some of them don't.
Mm.
Brooklyn 45 is a 501c3 not-for-profit, and we welcome your support. Check out our website, brooklyn45.com, and feel free to donate or share it with your friends and family. Have any comments or questions? Send them to our Facebook, facebook.com/brooklyn45tv. If you have any questions or topics you think we should cover next, shoot me an email over at brooklyn45tv@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching.
Thank you, Dondre. And on behalf of our entire Brooklyn 45 team, I'm Sam Tate.